As we all know, ministry can sometimes be stressful. And so today on Practical Church Planting, we're going to give you 4 things you can do to help reduce the stress that you feel in ministry.
Welcome back to Practical Church Planting, where in 15 minutes or less, we'll give you practical tips, advice, and encouragement to help you plant and grow healthy churches. My name is Brian Androsian. Joining me is Dylan Dodson. And today we're talking about 4 ways to reduce stress in ministry.
Yep. So,
Yep.
like any job, I have a little bit of a pet peeve when people talk about how being ministry is like the hardest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the joke that I've heard. It's like people that have only ever worked in ministry.
Yeah.
But it is
Yeah.
hard. So, that to say, I don't want to like overemphasize it, but obviously it is hard.
Yeah,
And
there
there
is
are
stress
there are
involved.
some unique challenges. And so a few things we wanted to share with you, just some experience. A lot of this is taken recently from a book I read from John Mark Comer that's just come out called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. So I would just, as a side note, if you're someone that feel like you always have to be doing something, or ministry, there always is stuff to do. It's a great book. So here's some 4 things that I kind of took away that I've kind of tried to implement it, and so far I've worked, although we're just a few weeks into it.
Yeah.
Here's the first one: deleting email from your phone.
That is a controversial one.
Now I always kind of assumed that like it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Until I took this is probably about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks now that I've deleted off my phone, and then I realized, man, I checked it all the time. Like even if it was a small thing, even if it like there was no email there, or I just like responded to someone, it took 15 seconds. It was still like at night, on the weekends, on Saturday, like I would still just check it when I think part of it is just like habit of like you pull out your phone. And so that's just like one of the things that I use a lot. And so I've completely taken off my phone. One thing I've noticed is I have less emails because you're emailing less. But like it also, as we'll see with all these things, like life is okay and not everything needs to be responded to right away. And I don't even think people assume things need to be responded to in our way. We just get used to doing it that way.
Yeah.
And so I found that it has been immensely helpful. I don't check my email. I don't know, unless I'm on my computer, which I am almost every day anyway. But on the weekends, I'm not as much, and I just don't check the email as much, and nothing bad has happened.
Not yet.
So it's been a good one for me.
You're not talking about just stopping notifications. You're talking about removing it completely.
Yeah, and I'm one. We'll talk about this here. Like I've until recently didn't have any notifications except for phone calls and texts.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any notifications from my email. So I didn't know if I had an email, but it was just there, and so I checked it often. And it has helped because it's like it's like I was maybe somewhat addicted to this, and like everything is okay, and I don't have to check it all the time. And I just noticed that I was checking it way more than I thought I was when it's no longer on my phone to check.
This might be an episode of you saying do these things and me saying I haven't done any of these things. So we'll see. But yeah, I still have email on my phone. So we'll see. I might try this and see how much it eliminates stress.
Yeah, I mean, I guess depending on your role, some of it is maybe you can get away with it more than others.
Sure,
In
but
the
still.
book, in his book, he says he checks email once Mondays at 10 a.m. or
Like
Mondays
once a week?
Gets it all to 0. Now, of course,
Don't like that.
I think he leads like a larger church, and so he doesn't have like all the responsibilities a church planner has.
Right,
So
other
there's, that's not. I think if you're listening to this podcast, that's probably literally impossible for you.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's just helpful to remind ourselves we don't want to be doing everything all the time, and it's helped me.
No, that's good. And I think one of the things that helps is not doing work in when you should be spending time with family and things like that.
And not, I mean, I belabor this point, but it's like, it's not even that it's, a lot of times what we do, like we enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So it's not even bad, but it's just like, I'm always checking this thing. And it's like, it's helping me like just not think about ministry stuff. If I'm not checking it, I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah,
And so
that's good.
deleting it entirely from your phone, only checking on your computer, it's helped me so far. And I'm going to keep it. So
Keep it.
number 2, turning off all notifications, including texts.
See, I can get on board with the email one. This one is insane.
So, well, this one I've done until recently. I did all notifications except text and email, which I would say that's even a great first step. If you have notifications, like we have a staff group me, I don't get notifications for. Don't get notifications for email on social media. Like there's just a thing in you when you see that little red icon, like you want however many numbers it is, like you have to check it.
Yeah.
Even if you know it doesn't matter, you have to check it. And so this is just about like not always having to be on and having to do something. So say anything about the text. Let's just start. I would just highly recommend, period. Like you don't need notifications on your phone.
Yeah.
Text and email or text and phone calls, obviously that's fine. But like you just don't. You don't do. And maybe if you do social media, I run our social media and I still don't. Maybe that's bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. But now when it comes to text, I have slightly adjusted it. So it was 2 weeks out. I have now where I'm at is that I have an Apple Watch too, so my phone doesn't vibrate. I don't see that I have a text. I switched it the other day to where I will have a notification on the little icon. If I'm in my phone, I will see it.
Okay.
The reason why I did that was because I was like texting people, and then I was forgetting that I had no notifications on my phone for it. And then there was like miscommunication, like with Christine, my wife, last week. We were like meeting somewhere to go somewhere, and I texted her something, and then I didn't check my phone, and then it'd be like it was just. And so like now I know that like, oh, there's something there. But I'm not like every time something buzzes, I don't know if it buzzes.
Yeah.
Like only if somebody calls me do I know. And it's still reducing because even if you know it's like a text, I don't have to check it right away. Like if you're doing sermon prep or you're trying to focus, like you just know that there's something there that needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
And so I would just highly recommend if you have notifications of any kind other than phone and text, turn them off.
Yeah.
I've even just found I'm looking at my text messages less because I don't know that they're there, even with that red icon. Because since I get no notifications, if I'm on my phone do I see it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little. Maybe one day I'll get back to. Maybe I'm too addicted to my phone to turn them completely off. But I was like missing a few things. But now I don't know. Like if you were to text me, I wouldn't know unless I just happen to check my phone, which is much better when it comes to your focus and not getting distracted and all that.
All right, that's not so crazy. Yeah, you did have it for a while or for a little bit of time where they wouldn't even show like a thing that you got a text, like a little red one or whatever, which is insane.
Which that wasn't even the problem. The problem
Insane.
was I would go into my text messages and then I would, it's always on like your latest conversation.
Yeah.
And so that one would be fine, but I would forget that I had like 2 or 3 other goals. So I just forget to look.
Yeah.
I think if I like train myself more, but I'll start here and then maybe one day I'll move forward.
I'm noticing through all this, normally I do this, but I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb during this recording, so it's going to be really funny if my phone goes off as we're talking about not having notifications.
There you go. But hey, for number 1, email, you don't need it. Number 2, all notifications except for text. I would just try it. Just do it only if you check your phone, if you see a little icon or not at all. It will be okay. Number 3, leave when you are leave when you are done or plan to leave early. So I think sometimes we feel like, well, I have to be here. I've gotten slightly better at this, but then I feel like I regress sometimes. Like when we first planted, I'm like, 9 to 5, you have to be working. Yeah. And then of course, if you have the stuff at night that you have to go to, that's just additional. But it's like no, you don't have to be working all the time.
Yeah.
So we started Thursday night services in September. And so, I come in later, like, it's okay. Like, I'm not going to be working from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Like, I'm not going to do that. But I'm planning about it. It feels easier. And so, like, if you're done with stuff throughout the day, like, it's okay to leave early. Or if you just know that maybe today you don't have as much stuff, this might be more helpful for you, or at least for me. Like, I'm going to leave at 4 or 3:30, and I'm going to be okay with it as opposed to just, like, sitting there, taking forever with your things because you just feel like you have to be doing stuff. I think particularly for church planters, learning that your schedule is going to look different and being okay with that, because otherwise you're going to feel guilty when you're not working when everyone else is. And then if you've got 3 night meetings that week, like it's too much. And so being okay with being done and being okay that your schedule is different. And if you don't have as much going on that day or that week, and I'm speaking to the choir here because I'm like the worst at this, like it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
This is, like you said, this really came to light for us when we started these Thursday services because, like now my wife is staying more home with our kid more.
By the way, breaking news, we should have started with this.
I was just bringing it up.
Congratulations to Brian and Brittany.
Yes.
Just adopted a brand new baby boy.
Little baby Theo.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Now she's staying home more, so it's a little easier to make this work. But before that, we would, we'd have Thursday services. So I would think like we come in at 9 and we're here until 9 or 10 or whatever. But no, when she was like, no, now we need to go in the afternoon because we're still there the same amount of time, but we need to adjust these hours. And if she hadn't have said that, it wouldn't have even dawned on me. It would just be, we go and we stay.
Yep.
And so, which isn't healthy at all.
Which is funny because the first week we had Thursday services, I still got here at 9:30. I got here a little bit later than I normally do. And I'm like, this is Dylan, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, why are you here?
And I think a little bit goes into this, or I think what plays into this a little bit is also keeping a Sabbath, or at least keeping that idea of that it's okay to rest. I think, I can't remember if we've talked about this before, but one of the pastors around here that we met with a while back made an observation that basically said the Sabbath is the one commandment that you're almost encouraged to break in ministry. Right. And whether you're talking about Sabbath or just rest in general, I think we often get this thing of like we have to be doing something constantly because we're in ministry. Because, I mean, there is a lot of pressure on what you do. Like it is very important what you do. But if you're not rested, or if you're not, taking care of yourself a little bit and having those boundaries, then it's, I mean, obviously it's not going to turn out well.
Yeah. So again, just being okay.
Yeah.
If you got less to do that week, it's okay. Like just tell yourself, or plan that you're just going to work less so that you're not sitting around.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done, but it's just a big thing to help you reduce stress. Otherwise you'll be doing stuff all the time.
Yep.
And then number 4, lastly, do your best and be okay with less than perfect. And what I mean by this is I think a lot of people today have like, whether it's like a value they say, or they just think they want things to excellence,
yep,
or whatever. And like in other words, you want to do your best, which is great. Like you should do your absolutely best. But I think one of the things I've noticed personally, and just in other people, pastors to talk to, is like if you're a church planter, if you have limited staff, I mean, even if you're like a big church and have tons of staff, like there's always stuff to be done.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with it not being absolutely perfect. This is not to be lazy, but it's like, it's not perfect. Like even for us, like right now, like, you know, with you guys having the baby, we're like changing some staff roles around. Like it's okay that everything's not going to be, that things are going to be done differently.
Yeah.
Or like, it's okay that, I don't know, like social media is a big thing. We talked about a lot of episodes. Like you want to do good social media, but like, it's okay one week. Like, let's say you didn't have as many posts as the others. Like, it's not, otherwise you're going to be killing yourself working all the time, making sure everything is perfect. There has to be a balance of we're going to do the best we can, and being okay knowing that in an ideal world, certain things like this would be taken care of, or this would be happening. But what the capacity that we have right now, we can't do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
This is not it's okay, like let's not do anything, but learning to be okay with do the best that you can, and you can't do everything, and that's all right.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously you don't want to use this as a justification to be lazy, but I think if you're planning a church, that's probably not a huge worry. I don't think most people who actually go through with planting a church are people that want to shortcut everything. But I lost what I was going to say. I'll be honest. But I think part of it is, gosh, Dylan, go.
Let me save you.
Dylan,
I'm going to
go.
give you a practical example because you might be thinking, okay, what does it mean to like do your best to be okay with less than?
I remember now. Okay.
Let's say you have a certain amount of volunteer positions that you want on a Sunday, and they're important, right? And 3 people call out. Like you could be like, well, you could burn someone out and have someone who's already serving every week to have them fill in the position, or you could be like, you know what? Like for example, for us, we've got 2 doors leading into our lobby. We have 2 auditorium greeters, or not auditorium greeters, door greeters that we call them, whatever. Like if somebody calls out, we're just going to have one. And it's ideally, yes, we would have 2, and like we wouldn't have none. Like we would move people around so we have at least someone at the front door. But that's just maybe a small example of like schedule, plan, but don't stress out if not everything is perfect. Like it's okay, do the best you can, but you can't do everything.
No, it's good. Gosh, we need to keep a running tally of how many times I lose my train of thought mid thought on this podcast. But what I was going to say is you notice things more than people do. And so there's been so many times where myself or some of the rest of us on staff here, we're like, there's something that's not perfect and it's something we're responsible for. And so we want to make it perfect, or we want to spend all this extra time or stay late or have extra people come to make it as good as it can be. When in reality, being good but not perfect, people won't know. People won't notice. It's not just we want people to notice everything. Not that that's the only reason we do anything. But if we happen to miss a little bit of this little thing when we're cleaning, but it's still mostly good, it's okay. Like it's okay not to beat yourself up over every little missed thing that isn't as perfect as you want it to be, because in reality, most likely the thing that you're stressing about is something that people won't even notice.
And I get it. And I think part of the problem is like comparison and just like knowing where you want to be and where you want your church to be. And so you're like, well, we want to do X, Y, and Z, but we can't do it yet. So we're going to like do our best to make it happen. It's like, it's okay. Like do whatever you can well, but be okay with it's not going to be perfect. And again, there's the tension there of like, well, not trying at all, which is you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But I've just learned that, hey, we're going to do the best that we can, whether it's like scheduling a certain type of event or like when you're a church plant, you can't do some things that an established church can do. And so it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Do what you can do. Be okay with it. That will make you less stressful than trying to do everything that you cannot do.
Yeah. One little example of this, and then before we wrap up, is we've talked about this on the podcast, but one thing we do here at New City is trivia. And last year we were doing it, or earlier this year, we were doing it every month. And it was great. Like people were coming. It was a lot of fun. But it was, especially as we were adding other things, like it was just becoming not possible to do it that much. And so when we scaled it back to, we first scaled it back to every other month, I think it was. And me personally, I was not happy. I mean, I run trivia; it's fun, but I was like, I want people to be able to do this every month. I want to do it every month, and it's just people aren't going to come as much if it's every other month. But now that it's every other month, now it's even less than it. Technically, I guess it's less than every other month. Like we just decided to push it back a month, and so we're going 2 months without. I think it is now, and I'm super thankful we did.
And again, because we had Thursday services, so we got more going on. If we were a larger church and if we had more staff, like if our staff didn't have to be at everything that we did, then we could continue to do trivia every month. But we're just not in the position where we can do that, and so we just have to be okay with it.
Yeah, and it's something that I didn't want to make this change, but now looking back, I'm super thankful we did, because if we were still doing it that way, it would not be healthy.
Right, when would you sleep right now?
Well, I don't know. When do I sleep anyway?
You can make trivia with Theo. So anyway, those are 4 ways to reduce stress in ministry. Delete email from your phone. The world will not end.
Yes.
Turn off all notifications, including texts.
The world may end.
The world will not end. Leave when you are done or plan to leave early, and do your best and be okay with less than perfect. So thanks for listening today. And I'll be with you next time on Practical Church Planning.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of Practical Church Planning. Whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or Practical Planning, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure you like or subscribe or do whatever it's telling you to do or should do on that platform.
And hey, if you are so tired of looking at our ugly faces, but you're not tired of listening to our beautiful voices, then you can find our podcast if you just search Practical Church Planning on iTunes or Google Play. Make sure not to just find it, not just to listen, but to subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe. Brian, tell them to subscribe.
Subscribe.
See you next time.